Greetings from Daytona, where a band of dreamers took a strip of beach and turned it into a proving ground. The Great American Race, where year after year, greatness is the destination. So book your experience and soak in 500 miles of history and tradition. Once you arrive, you'll never look back. Secure your seats now at Daytona500.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover with you from our studios here in Tuscaloosa as we get ready for Saturday's game here at home at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium between Alabama and South Carolina. We'll start our show by taking a look at what's coming up, plus our headlines, thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They give us a smart board to go through everything coming up in a very interactive way, including a look at our Vector Security Champions lane map in a moment. First things first, we'll be hearing from Alabama running back Justice Haynes to get his thoughts on not only this season for Alabama, but what led him to the capstone even after growing up around a Georgia football legend. We'll talk with Justice Haynes coming up first. Then Grant Enfinger will join us. Grant Enfinger races in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and this past Friday, he had one of the best wins we saw all season as he got a victory for his number 7 car in Talladega. So a great conversation as we combine NASCAR and Alabama football. He is an Alabama football fan, as you'll hear about coming up in the interview. Then we'll check in with Todd Ellis, the voice of the South Carolina Gamecocks, a former South Carolina quarterback. He'll give us his thoughts on Shane Beamer's team as we get ready for Saturday. And then we will hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer. He and Jeremy Bernard were last night's guest at Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show, so we'll give you the final word from last night at Baumhauer's here in Tuscaloosa. Looking at our headlines with the football team, it's Alabama against South Carolina. It is an 11 a.m. kickoff at Saban Field, so our radio airtime will be 8 o'clock from Vector Security Champions Lane. We haven't seen much of the Gamecocks recently. It's the first meeting between these schools since 2019. That was the Najee Harris Leap game. And then this first time Alabama has hosted South Carolina since 2009. So again, it's been a long time for the Gamecocks to make the trip here to Tuscaloosa, but we look forward to an early start, but hopefully a winning Saturday for Alabama football. Alabama soccer hoping for a winning Thursday. Tonight, it's the Iron Bowl of soccer. Alabama at Auburn. A trophy is on the line starting at 6 o'clock down on the plains. And then after hopefully Alabama brings the trophy back on Highway 82, they will get ready for what will be coming up on Sunday. Alabama at home against Texas A&M. A&M always one of the top teams in the SEC. 6 p.m. will be the start time for the Aggies and the Crimson Tide at the Alabama Soccer Stadium. And that will be Power of Pink coming up this weekend. Volleyball team, they're on the road this weekend. First of all, taking on Missouri tomorrow night, and then Sunday wrapping up the road trip out west with a game against Arkansas at 3 o'clock, trying to continue that good momentum after the win we saw against Georgia. Then tomorrow night, it's going to be a fun time at Coleman Coliseum. The Final Four banner raising at 8:30 p.m. at Coleman Coliseum. Tickets are on sale through Yay, Alabama, as students do get in free, but the doors will open at 7:30. We look forward to not only seeing the Final Four banner raising coming up, but there are going to be some skill contests, dunk contests, a three-point shooting contest, and an opportunity to see the Crimson Tide scrimmage against each other. So that's really going to be fun for the men's team coming up on Friday night at Coleman, right before the football game on Saturday. Next week, SEC Basketball Media Days. The last few years, we've been able to have coverage for you from the Grand Bohemian Hotel in Mountain Brook. We look forward to continuing that as our Richard Hendricks, our basketball analyst, one of our many great analysts on the networks, but especially the official basketball analyst of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. He'll be along once again to get us some interviews with Crimson Tide players, maybe some media members as well, previewing SEC basketball coming up next week. Right now, we're still talking football. We're still in early October, and the Crimson Tide trying to bounce back after the loss against Vanderbilt. We'll get some thoughts on that, plus the life and career of Alabama running back Justice Haynes as our one-on-one conversation today here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Now, please be joined by Alabama running back Justice Haynes as we get set for Alabama against South Carolina. And Justice, roll tide. It's good to see you, man.
Roll tide. Glad to be here.
Well, certainly you're off to a great start this season for the Crimson Tide. Let's start with this. What are you proud about the work you put in the offseason that's allowed you to get off to a good start this season?
This offseason was a pivotal offseason, as us as a team. We didn't finish the way we wanted to last year. So just coming in as a whole, we knew that we had to grind a little bit different. We had to want it a little bit different, so just the work that we put in, even with the transition, you know, with everyone that is here right now wanted to be here and just trusting the process and trusting in Coach DeBoer, but then also, with our fourth quarter program going into the summer, going into fall camp, it's those gruesome days, grinding with my brothers, it's always something special, and just going into the season and seeing our work going out there and fulfilling now that the work that we did is really special.
And then with all the transition that's taken place on offense, what's the role of the running back now in this new offense?
I think the role of the running back is, just being dynamic, as you've seen it so far these first couple of games, they'll line us up in empty. They'll put us in the backfield. We have motions. We have different spots that we can get to different places and able to use the running back and enhance all of our abilities, not, just running the ball. Because, we talk about it all the time in the running back room. We're bigger than just it's who you are without the ball in your hands. So, whether that's us blocking, whether that's us running the routes, doing anything we need to do to help the team.
Was that one of the biggest changes from high school football to where you are now, is learning how to block and making sure you are helping Jalen Milroe in all aspects of the offense?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think that's definitely the biggest transition, because when you're in high school, you're getting the ball all the time.
Yeah.
When you're here, you're around a whole bunch of other stars, other guys that alpha males that can play just as well as you. So, it's really pivotal that what can you do without the ball? And that's going to that really determines what kind of player you are and the playing time you get, because you got to, the quarterback, you got to keep him clean, that you got to keep him clean so he can dish the ball out to the other athletes around the field.
You mentioned all the hard work you put in the preseason. How rewarding was it the first game against Western Kentucky to break that 75-yard run like you did?
It was very rewarding, just think back on all my hard work, the sacrifices that I made. But at the end of the day, I give all glory to God. Without him, none of this is possible. Just the blessings and the many blessings and opportunities he's given me. And just any way I can pay that forward, I try to do. But that was just a true blessing. But that was just a start.
It really was. You've had some moments like that. We've seen some long runs from Jam and Jalen as well. I mean, that has to be the best feeling you could have on a football field, right? Especially if you get to about the 20 or so, you kind of know you're going to score. What's the rest of that like?
When you're about to score, you're just like, you got to get there. Like that's the thing I think about. Like, just once you get there, and then you're just thinking about like, that was a great play. Now go celebrate with my guys. We talk about it all the time. Run to the guys, go celebrate with them, because that's the best feeling in the world. You just helped your team put up points to helping them succeed. You get in that box, get in that zone. That's what we all want to do.
I'll let you brag on your teammates a little bit. First of all, with Jam Miller, when you watch him on film, when you see him on the practice field, what's he do best?
A complete player. Thing I love about Jam is how he can do it all. He can pass block, he can run, he can run block, he can run you over, he can make you miss, he can outrun you, he can do whatever you need him to do. And that's what I love about Jam, but Jam's an even better person, and the way he pushes me off and on the field. I'm so thankful for that, to have a guy in the room, but our whole running back room as a whole, the way we all push each other, is something that, we take pride in, and something that is very special to us in our room. But Jam, I love that kid's a dog. He a dog.
Yeah, you and Jam get a lot of the attention along with Richard as well, but you had to love some of the moments, even against Western Kentucky or late in the ball game against South Florida, Wisconsin. You get to see Kevin Riley with some carries, Daniel Hill as well. I mean, that had to be rewarding for all the hard work they put in.
Oh, yeah, 100%, definitely. I seen them come in. Daniel came in early, so it was great to see. Then Kevin came in the summer, but, just the strides they've made as players since they've been here has been tremendous. Just see they grind just as hard every day, put in all their time, put in all their effort, do everything they can to be the best player they can possibly be. So to see them go out there and just ball out and do what they do, I love to see that, and I just always root for them boys.
Fun to play for Coach Gillespie?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, Coach Gillespie, I love playing with Coach G. G is an amazing dude, but he's an amazing coach, because he's gonna find the fine details that you need in order to make you the best person, the best person, not just player, but a best person, but then also the best player. Because we talk about not just football, we talk about character too. Like, what kind of man are you? And we talk about all the time, like, football is a way of life. Like, football and life are so similar. Like, you're gonna go through adversity in football, you're gonna go through adversity in life. Like, we compare those two things, like it's very, very similar, and so we talk about that all the time. But Coach G, just a tremendous coach, tremendous man, and the way he pushes us.
How does he help you most in game on the sidelines?
I think he helps us most in game. One thing he told me, like in the Vandy game, was like just a little snippy. He was like, let's go. Like just little motivational things are burst. He just said it right before the play, burst. Let's go. But just we have iPads now. So that's another thing that we can see. He'd be like, here, you see that right there? Okay. Just trying to help me out in any ways like that. Okay, they brought a different pressure that we might not have seen in practice. This is how we're going to do it. In-game adjustments, And that's what we talk about all the time. You got to be able to adjust on the fly, and he's so good at picking these things up and just keeping us ready, Stay loose. We about to go back out there. Let's go. Staying positive. Like, we about to get this ball back, and we about to go score. Like, stuff like that. But
you mentioned staying positive. How important is that, especially after a game like Vanderbilt this past week?
I think it's very important, Vandy is all respect. We respect them. They played a good game, and we know that we could have played better. But it's in the past now. The only thing we can do is move forward, and everything that we want to obtain is still right in front of us. We just know that we got to improve and just continue to get better. But like Coach DeBoer said, like, we're not going to overanalyze anything. Everything that we have in that room, in our whole room, we're good. We are fine. We just got to execute, do our jobs, and just continue to keep grinding, refining, competing each and every day.
How helpful is it to have the Sunday practices where you guys get together to either flush, the emotional high of a win against Georgia or, a tough emotional loss like Vanderbilt? How much does it help getting together with your teammates on Sunday that way?
I think it helps a lot. We talk about it all the time. We have a 24-hour rule. I think that's perfect because, you got that Saturday night, you got that Saturday morning, and then you put the game to bed at 2 o'clock whenever we have that meeting, our team meeting. And, that's a great aspect, win or loss, on to the next, because you're only as good as your next game. That game, it was great. We celebrated. It happened, this, that, and the third, whatever happened in that game, on to the next. Let's go. So
that's really good. So, again, that's kind of where we are right now in this season, coming off the Vandy game, getting ready for South Carolina. But I want to back it up with you to the start of your career because you grew up in the shadow, of course, of a great football player in Vernon Haynes as well, Georgia Bulldog, also a Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What was it like growing up with a famous dad that was a great football player?
It was great. I love my dad. He pushed me. That's my dude. That's my rock. Like, still to this day, we talk every day. All the time, but we don't just talk about football, like I said, and we talk about, everything, just about being a man, but just the way he's pushed me on and off the field, just tremendously. I'm forever thankful for it. But growing up in his shadow, I wouldn't say I grew up in his shadow because I always knew who I was independently as a man and who I was going to become and who I'm still going to become. So I wouldn't say I grew up in his shadow, but I was definitely, thankful for all the stuff that he has given me, all the knowledge, because I feel like he's really prepared me each and every level I've been to. I've seen this level before. We always talked about it, like when I was a kid, when I was young, he was preparing me for middle school. Middle school, he was preparing me for high school. So when I'm in middle school, he was preparing me. When I was in high school, he was already preparing me for college. Now I'm in college, he's helping me prepare me for the league. So just stuff like that.
You have some memories of being around, any of the games that he played in the NFL or being around the locker room, getting to meet a lot of famous pro players, stuff like that?
I remember, when I was young in elementary, going back, this was after he retired because he retired in 2011. So I was still fairly young then. But when he was playing in majority of his career, I can't remember those days. I have pictures. I've seen it, like me in the locker room after the Super Bowl with him, this, that, and the third, or me just, being with the guys and stuff like that. But, I've been able to be fortunate now that I'm older to still be around those guys, like Jerome Bettis. Like, they call me Lil Bussy. Like, that's what he gave me. That's the name he gave me. So just being around guys like Jerome, being around guys that he played with that I was able to see, and just stuff like that. But I was at Jerome's thing, got to be with Ben, all that, his Hall of Fame when he got inducted. So I got to be around Ben. That's when AB and Ben and all of them were playing. I got to meet all of them those guys. So that was pretty special.
That really is special. And of course, he's a college football legend as well, mostly for one play that everyone remembers, that go-ahead touchdown against Tennessee in 2001, the hobnail boot play. How many times have you heard that call of Larry Munson calling that touchdown from David Green to your dad over and over again?
Oh, I've heard it tremendously. Like, I hear it all the time. But, it was a special play. He made a play, made a moment, and it went down in history. But, yeah, I especially every time Tennessee and Georgia get ready to play, but it's usually around like October, whenever they play or whenever. Yeah, we start hearing around our house, hobnail boo, baby.
There you go. So again, he's a Georgia football legend. Did you have a lot of pressure on you in high school from him or anybody around Georgia to sign there? And then what was the reaction when he did sign with Alabama?
I wouldn't say I had a lot of pressure. I think a lot of people expected me to go to Georgia because of my dad. But I'm a very faith-based person. I put my trust in God, just letting him lead me in the right direction. He led me here, which was the best decision for me. And my dad, he understood. He never put pressure on me. He always told me it was my choice. He was like, son, like, my path was my path. Your path is your path. And that's what I will forever be thankful for. Like, my dad didn't pressure me to go to Georgia. He didn't be like, yo, you should go to Georgia, this, that, and the third. Like, no, he was like, I'm with you no matter what. I'm going to ride with you. I'm going to put that jersey on and support you no matter what, whatever school you choose.
And you chose Alabama. What'd you like most about Alabama once you got to know the coaching staff here, see the facilities, and once they really recruited you hard?
I would say the most thing that I liked about Alabama is, I committed to Coach Saban. So when I committed to Coach Saban, I knew how I was going to get pushed on and off the field, because, like, life is bigger than just football. Like, football is a small snippet of life. Like, if there was a book written on me, football's gonna be this small in my life, at the end of the day. So I gotta be prepared for life overall and the adversity that's gonna come with life and things that are gonna come with life. And I knew I was gonna get prepared like that here at Bama. But then also I knew I was gonna get pushed as a football player. I knew that aspect was gonna be here. I knew Coach Saban was gonna get me to where I wanted to go. But then, he retired. Coach DeBoer came in. And that was the reason why I still trust in this place, because I know Coach DeBoer has that same morals, in a way. They have their different ways of getting their points across, but at the end of the day, they have the same morals. How they going to make us better men, how they going to make us better football players.
There are we all kind of kept up with everything Coach Saban would say in press conferences, because there's a lot of life wisdom there on his radio show with us. Were there a lot of things in like team meetings or talks to the team that have really stuck with you from your time playing for him?
Yes, definitely. Coach Saban, like I said, like, he cared about us being like people. Like, you're more than just a football player. Football is literally a small part of your life, and you never know what's going to end. And so, you just got to be grateful for the opportunity that you get each and every day and just cherish the moment.
Certainly cherish the moment. And for you got some playing time as a freshman this past year, but I know you're wearing the Rose Bowl shirt. It was the second half of the Rose Bowl game. We saw you a lot more. What do you feel like led to you getting more opportunities that second half against Michigan?
Just trusting the process, coming in, it was always just preparing each and every week, each and every day. Like, I was RB1. Even if whatever the depth chart said, just trusting God, trusting that he had a plan for me, but just really trusting the process, and I knew going into the game, we had a package that I was going to be in. I was in earlier in the game. Didn't know how many times it was being called, but every game I prepared the same way that I did for Michigan. It didn't change my preparation just because we were playing in the college football semifinals against Michigan, whether we were playing whoever. Like, from the first game to the last game, I'm prepared the same each and every day. I believe in consistency, and that's really key. And so just preparing each and every day, coming to work each and every day, and just honing my craft and trying to get better each and every day.
And I imagine that's something that fuels you right now, even as you get ready for the South Carolina game. What do you want the fans to see from you guys coming up on Saturday?
I just want to see I want them to see an improved group, a physical group. As far as the offensive wise, efficient, explosive, making the most of all of our opportunities. Defense, a tenacious, vicious, attacking defense. And I just want the fans to see that, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. I promise you that.
Is this defense pretty hard to practice against? I mean, I know it makes you better, but I mean, they got some monsters on that side of the ball.
Oh, 100%. Spring ball, going at it. That's all we do is one-on-ones, ones versus ones. We doing that. Fall camp, good on good all day. So going against that defense, we got to earn everything we get. And that defense is tremendous. Got some studs on that defense. Some guys that are going to be household names, and just they're a great group. They're a together group. They're a tenacious group.
They certainly are. And to circle back to your family for a second, I mentioned your father, of course, a college football player, played in the NFL. But tell us about your grandfather, Buggy, who was a great star for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, so my grandfather, he was a soccer. So, me and my dad, we were football. My grandfather was a soccer player. He was a captain of the national team. Got to play against, Pele. He's good friends with him. Stuff like that. He led them to the World Cup. Actually, when he was a captain there, and he was a great player in his own right. I didn't get to see any of that, but I've heard great stories. I've heard, how tremendous he was playing soccer. That was something I never picked up. I tried soccer, but that was his cup of tea.
Pretty much all football for you, right?
All football and baseball.
Have you been able to go back to Trinidad before?
Yes, I have. I went back when I was little. I haven't been back since I've been little. I'd like to get back pretty soon, when I get some time. We don't really get much time, but when I get some time, yeah, that would be awesome.
That's really cool. Well, you're in a great part of the season for Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
Just thank you, Justice, all the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Best of luck against South Carolina and the rest of the way. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.
Experience racing like never before. From the sandy beaches of Daytona to the high banks of one of the most exciting super speedways on the NASCAR circuit. Don't miss out as NASCAR kicks off the 2025 season with the Daytona 500 on February 16th, 2025. Witness history in the making and purchase your tickets today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com. Fun conversation with Justice Haynes. Of course, he's been running wild this year for the Crimson Tide and running wild on the track in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Grant Enfinger, who this past weekend, Talladega has those 3 days of races. The Craftsman Truck Series race on Friday, the Xfinity race on Saturday, and then the Cup Series race on Sunday. Grant Enfinger started the proceedings at Talladega Superspeedway this past week with a bang by getting a victory. Had to hold off some guys right at the end as he's able to win for the second time at Talladega. He's a native of Alabama. He loves Crimson Tide football. He talks about his win at Talladega plus his love for the Tide. Here with us today on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. I'm pleased to be joined by the driver of the beautiful car that's right behind me on the background, Grant Enfinger, who won in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series this past weekend at Talladega, and of course an Alabama fan as well, an Alabama native as well. So Grant, Roll Tide, it's great to have you on. I'm sure this has been a special week winning here in Alabama.
Yeah, definitely. Roll Tide number one. When this came across McKenna's desk and it was anything to do with Crimson Tide, I said, yes, anything to do with my team. You go ahead and answer yes for that. I'll make it happen. But yeah, obviously a huge weekend for us. To be able to win at the hometown track is huge for me personally. I had a lot of family there. But also for what it means. It's the first ever win for our CR7 Motorsports team. And this win locks us into the championship four. So we will be racing for a championship in a few weeks at Phoenix. So for our first year with this team and for what all it means, it's just an absolutely unbelievable day last Friday at Talladega.
You've won before at Talladega. Did you have a good feeling going into this race about your chances for this last weekend's Friday race?
I actually did have a very good feeling. Myself and my crew chief, Jeff Stankwitz, actually won this race. It was my first ever truck win back in 2016. And just the way this year has gone for us, it's been a lot of peaks and valleys. It seems like we've been really fast at certain times, and I feel like we've had our heartstrings pulled a few times and leading late in the race, and something happened. A caution comes out. We've had a tear off get stuck on our windshield. We had a tire go down with leading with 7 or 8 laps left to go in a race earlier this year. So I feel like we've been in contention for some wins and kind of had them yanked out of our hand at the last minute. And then there's also been some instances where we just haven't had the performance. We haven't had the speed in our Chevrolets. And so yeah, it was good to put all the pieces of the puzzle together on Friday at Talladega. I feel like We qualified fourth, but I feel like really from the drop of the green flag, our champion power equipment Chevy was the class of the field. We were able to control the race for a good part of it, as much as you can control a race. I feel like at Talladega, we were able to do that. But yeah, to answer your question, we'd actually come off the beginning of the playoffs were a little bit of a lull for us at our CR7 Motorsports team. We stumbled our way through the first three races, but still managed to sneak our way into the next round. And Talladega is when everything kind of reset for us. And the win there, like I said, couldn't come at a better time, because that win in the round of 8 locks us into the championship four. So yeah, huge day, and just awesome to do that, but to also do it at the home track with the family is just no better feeling.
And talk us through that final lap, because you're in the lead, but you had to block, and there was a lot of chaos going on behind you, especially at the very end. Just how did you stay calm in those moments and make sure you got the victory?
So Talladega is always a lot of chaos. So that situation I've been in before there. And really leading up to that, it was a little calmer than normal. After our last restart with about 8 or 10 laps to go, we kind of got single file, and we were controlling the race well. But myself and my spotter, Tim Feetlewood, we know stuff is going to fan out and stuff is going to get crazy at the end. You just don't know what lap it's coming at. So yeah, it happened on the white flag lap there. Stuff started getting fanned out, and then coming off a turn 4 to the checkered, it ended up being a middle run coming, and we went up to block that, and then it was a top run coming, and then we needed to get back down to the bottom, and then lo and behold, the top run came again. So just a lot of fending off and swatting at flies, and just kind of going with your instincts, and going with my spotter Tim Feetlewood's instincts, and the stars lined up. You know, I feel like you could do that again and not be successful, but I feel like the big advantage that we had on Friday is our champion power equipment Chevy was really fast, and when you have a fast truck, it makes some of those moves work out, even when maybe an average truck it wouldn't work. So that's definitely a huge advantage for us. And now the other advantage we have is we got 4 weeks to really. We race in these 4 weeks. We go to Homestead in a couple weeks. We go to Martinsville the week after that. But we can put a little bit more focus into our Phoenix truck now. So Phoenix is where it all boils down to us for the championship, and the fact that we're the only one that's locked in for that championship four is a huge advantage for our team.
Yeah, brag on your crew for just a minute. You mentioned your spotter, but how about your crew chief, pit crew? I mean, everybody that helped make this a successful weekend for you.
Yeah, so Jeff Stankiewicz, like I mentioned, I won my first ever truck race with him, and able to lure him back over to CR7 Motorsports in the beginning of this year, and feel like we've picked up where we left off, and able to build speed all along the way. Like I said, we've been a little bit hit or miss at certain times, but when we've hit it, we've had trucks that can win races, and just like we did last Friday. So our guys on pit road have been phenomenal all year. So even when the races that we've missed a little bit, our pit crew has kept us in the game quite a few times this year, and those guys were spot on again on Friday. So the way everything worked out at Talladega, we came down pit road 3 times. But we were able to stay towards the front of the field the whole time. We never got stuck in maybe worse than about 8th or 10th as far as track position goes. And that just helps your chances for controlling the race. Also helps your chances for staying out of that big one that always happens at Talladega. So very fortunate. And like I said, can't say thank you enough to everybody on this team, but also the Grant County Mulch family, Cody and Larry Berg, and everybody that's been part of this deal, that's believed in me to build this, but also our friends at Team Chevy and Champion Power Equipment. This is stuff a year ago that wasn't. It took a long time to kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together to come over here to this team, and to do it the way we've done it. It's definitely something I take a lot of pride in, and it's been kind of a building process all year. And I feel like we still have a long ways to go, but it's fun to get our first win together, but it's also fun to, throughout the course of this year, be building momentum and be building our team and our organization to be better and better each and every week.
What do you like about racing in the Craftsman Truck Series? You've had success at different levels before in auto racing, different types of cars before, but what do you like about this series?
it's always been a dream of mine. Really growing up in Fairhope, Alabama. My dad didn't race, my family didn't race or anything, but my dad is always a race fan. So we'd go to Talladega each and every year, and that's kind of where the fire started burning for me to where I truly loved racing. We started racing go-karts with my dad when I was 11 years old, and really somewhere around 15, 16 years old is when I decided, hey, I want to do this for a living, and been able to be fortunate enough, and God has blessed me with some unbelievable opportunities to where I've made a living as a driver the last 10 years or so, but before that, I was making a living some version in racing, whether it's mechanics or driving the haulers of the track or crew chief and other guys. I've been blessed to be able to do what I've wanted to do my whole life. But yeah, the truck series is something that's at the end of the day, I guess you could look at it as a third tier of NASCAR, but this is serious business what we're doing. Our teams, our organizations, there's 20 top-notch organizations that are building trucks that have the funding, that have the budget to go out there and to hire the best people, to build the best trucks and all that. And the competition level of the truck series is, I feel like, second to none. And I feel like our box for being able to experiment and build advantages and stuff, it's a little bit more open than it is in the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. We still have hand-built bodies. Our box is bigger on how we can manipulate things and how we can work within the rules. Whereas the Cup Series, I would say it's 95% engineering. Truck series, I'd say it's engineering supported, but there's a lot of old school racing we're doing. There's a lot of stuff that we don't have all the way scienced out. Some of what we're taking to the racetrack is a hunch or a guess or an old school racing trick. Whereas the resources of the cup level and the money and just all the engineering and the politics that go in it, we got a little bit of grassroots racing, but obviously it's mixed in with a lot of professionalism and like I said, I'm able to I'm one of the few guys I feel like you'll talk to that I'm truly making a living doing what I love and what I've always wanted to do.
That's really great to see. You mentioned growing up, loving going to the races in Talladega. Let's talk a little Alabama football. When did your love for the Crimson Tide start?
So that started before I was born. So yeah, everybody in my family went to Alabama. I went to South Alabama, but my mom, dad, sister, grandmom, granddad, everybody went to Alabama. I would have gone to Alabama if I felt like I could have done that and raced at the same time, but I just didn't feel like that was feasible for me. But yeah, my mom, as soon as I was in a bed, I was raised on a Crimson Tide mattress, not a comforter and all that, but literally a Crimson Tide mattress. So my family's always been ate up with it. I've been ate up with it. I've obviously enjoyed the Saban era. We've lived through all of it. My wife, unfortunately, she went to Auburn and that I know. But fortunately, the last few years, when they lose early, it makes life at home a lot better. Now, when Alabama and Auburn are both good, it's definitely tense at our house. But yeah, fortunately, Auburn's struggling a little bit this year, and that makes my home life better. But yeah, just always enjoyed it. I feel like there's certain times that you look back on those memories. I went to the 1992 championship game with my dad and the George T stripping the ball out, going the other way, just all kinds of memories. I actually went to the Georgia game with some sponsors we were entertaining, the national championship game where Tua through the second and 26th third. So there's a lot of very, very fond personal memories that are maybe outside of winning at Talladega on Friday night, maybe outside of the birth of my son and daughter, are pretty high up on the list.
That's pretty good. How much SEC football is talked in the garage between either you and fellow drivers or crew members for other teams? I mean, I imagine around, especially when we get to the fall weekends, around all levels of NASCAR, that has to be talked about a lot.
So that's talked about more with my Alabama guys. Larry McReynolds is a huge Alabama fan. There's definitely a few. Harold Holly, who is from Alabama, who's been in the NASCAR area for a long time. There's a few friends that we're all texting back and forth and talking. And then unfortunately, like I do have a friend of ours that supplies our brakes at Brembo. He's a big Florida Gators fan, so there's always a little bit of jawing and jabbing. But you go to other parts of the country, you go to Kansas or Vegas or whatever, and it's just not the same. Like they just don't like it doesn't mean as much as it does to us in the SEC for sure. And you see like been blessed to go all over the country, but man, the SEC is where it's at, and I feel like we're all ate up with it. A very good friend of ours from Champion Power Equipment, Marty Richards, he's ate up with Tennessee. Unfortunately, Tennessee is pretty good the last couple of years. Unfortunately, whatever our streak was, 15 years on them, they finally got us recently. So I hear a lot about that. But yeah, it's all well. I shouldn't say it's all in good taste. It's not all in good taste, but it is all fun.
Well, hopefully you get the last laugh with him coming up in a couple weeks. As we start to wrap things up, Grant, again, a great victory for you all at Talladega. Just set the scene for what's next in the next few weeks as you try and not only chase down more wins, but ultimately a championship in the Craftsman Truck Series.
Yeah, in our Truck Series, we actually only have 3 races remaining. Our win at Talladega was the first of the round of 8. So basically, we have 2 more races. We have a couple weeks off, then we go to Homestead, Miami Speedway, and then we go to Martinsville the next week, and then the following week is our championship race at Phoenix. So the way everything is structured, we are the only team that's locked into our championship 4 right now. So like I mentioned earlier, that's a huge advantage for our CR7 Motorsports team. So that's where all of our focus is. But yeah, it'd still be good to win Miami, to win Martinsville for sure. But the big trophy is going to be presented at Phoenix. So that's where all our focus is right now.
We look forward to seeing it and hopefully visiting with you again down the road. Grant, thank you so much for all the time you've given us today on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you again. Roll Tide.
Thanks so much. And yes, roll.
Greetings from Daytona, where year after year, greatness is the destination. So book your experience and soak in 500 miles of history and tradition. Secure your seats now at Daytona500.com.
Well, from an Alabama fan to now a broadcaster for the other team, we will go to the other booth presented by Marathon to get a scouting report on South Carolina football from Todd Ellis, who's now in, I believe, his 33rd year calling play-by-play for USC football. He's one of the rare play-by-play broadcasters in the league that actually played football for the team he calls games for. He was a Gamecock quarterback, and he joins us now to not only talk about the quarterback position at South Carolina, but the program that Shane Beamer has built in Columbia.
Todd, it's great to see you. How's everything going for you and the Gamecocks getting ready for this matchup in Tuscaloosa?
You know, Roger, like a lot of college teams now, the ups and downs get you, but it's great to be playing. I love this time of year. I love the college game still. I know there's a lot of issues that hang on the peripheral about it that have not made it as much fun for fans, and at least more questionable about where the future programs are going. But I still love the game a lot. It takes me a couple of days to get over tough losses like we had at Ole Miss last week. But I did celebrate the win over Kentucky quite over a period of time. And I think we've got a competitive team that even going to Tuscaloosa, I think we're going to bring a respectable program and probably play well. We did not play well last week at all. Not that game couldn't have gone with Ole Miss winning. But we did not show up very well for that ball game with the number of penalties that we had, the lack of big plays, and frankly, just some coaching issues that Shane admitted we just didn't do well at the best of times. And such is football. And but we're glad to be back at it again and finally get back to Tuscaloosa. It's been a long time.
It certainly has been first time since 2009. 5 games in for South Carolina. Can you kind of walk us through or talk us through these first 5 games of the year?
Sure. Biggest thing is out of camp, Roger, we thought we'd have a pretty feisty defense, and it's proven to be that way. You know, now everybody scores 30 points in ball games. Even some of the best of the defenses with good competition are giving up a lot based on the rules and what's going on and the offenses that have come out. But we think we've got a good defense that can compete when they're playing well. Our front 7 has gotten a lot better. So out of camp, what we were worried about was our redshirt freshman quarterback. Would Lenore Sellers be able to hold up? Would we keep up in the scoring that occurs in this league a lot of times? And he's had, like you might expect, some very good showings where he's more than capable of making those plays. And at other times we've suffered because of his inexperience. And so at Old Dominion, we did not look good. We didn't look like a whole functioning offense that was prepared to make plays. Still won the ball game. A big win at Kentucky where we made them look bad. A very good football team, by the way, Kentucky is. And I think they obviously proved that by upsetting Ole Miss there afterwards. But we played well, had a very good plan, and the defense pressured them all day long. I think 4 completions on the day for those guys. And I think we're still relying on that formula. And then there afterwards, put it on Akron pretty good. They were not the opponent that we all know comes with SEC play. And then the Ole Miss game last week with Lenore Sellers back, he's missed 6 quarters due to injury, where Robbie Ashford, your folks will be familiar with him. Of course, the transfer from Auburn has played well and played capable at times, more than capable when he's been out. But you don't take a guy who doesn't have much experience and then sit him on the bench and expect him to shine. He's missed a lot of football so far. So the season has kind of gone like I expected, and that would be that we've got to move. The faster Lenore's goes, the better off we'll be. The biggest thing that I think Alabama fans would see is that we're struggling to find a lot of playmakers. We're struggling for those explosive plays that Coach DeBoer I've seen has gotten out of his offense a lot, and Alabama has gotten out of a lot. I think it's harder for us. We've had some long breakout runs with Sellers and the transfer from Arkansas, Rocket Sanders, and receivers are doing fine, just not a whole lot of explosive plays. We had 3 series last week, Roger, where we went 10, 11, and 13 plays and got no points on those. You can't win in games like that, and we need to try to make some big plays to do it. And so right now, I think we have a very competitive team. We're hard to block up front, particularly in the pass game. Our linebackers, we actually have more depth and can rotate those guys and play, and quality secondary players that Coach White, Clayton White, our defensive coordinator, is not afraid to play on the edge and let them play out one-on-one and try to slow people down. And we just got to come along on offense a little bit.
Speaking of the offense, Alabama was just defeated by a mobile quarterback at Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia. Can Lenore Sellers or even Robbie Ashford in different packages do similar things to what we saw this past week?
Very much so. I haven't seen the whole game yet with Vanderbilt, but saw some of the highlights and other plays as well. Yeah. I mean, Lenore Sellers is probably at his best in the run game. He had 55 yards last week, 165 yards passing. Roger, I think that's kind of his sweet spot in there. We just didn't score at the end of those drives, but he's more than capable. He had a 70-plus yard run, the longest quarterback run in Carolina history for a touchdown a couple of weeks ago. He's capable of that. He throws just fine on the run. Probably his pocket passing is what he would need to improve on a little bit more. But yes, he is a load. I mean, he and Jalen Milroe could go into the dictionary as the big physical mobile quarterbacks with their pictures right beside them. I think Jalen's a more polished passer at this point in his career. But yeah, I mean, he can give you fits when he's got it going.
Looking at the South Carolina defense, how will the Gamecocks try to match up in the secondary, specifically with Alabama, with some of the skill players on the outside, like Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Kobe Prentice?
Yeah, that's the problem, is that you didn't just mention one guy. There's multiple guys. That gives everybody problems. Everybody in the league now has at least one stud, it feels like, at wide receiver. It's when you get into those multiple ones, it gives you problems. And not that all of our guys are not good coverage guys, but you can't cheat. You can't slide a safety over there to give a little help, or even one with 2. And what I've seen of Alabama so far is exactly as you described it. They have multiple threats all over the field, and Coach DeBoer and his philosophy that he brought with him to Alabama is put them in open space, take some shots, make plays. I think that'll be hard, but I don't think it's athletically that far from being able to match up with them. I just think that Alabama's offense, like a lot of other ones now, is sophisticated enough. They will find places to get those guys into space. Big part of it too, and Ole Miss did a good job with us on this. Keep them in front of you and tackle well. You got to keep Alabama's folks in front of you and tackle. We're pretty good tackling secondary, good at the linebacker spot. Eman Mori, our free safety's having another good year, and he's a hitter and can come up and do that. But as you know, it's a lot of the slants, it's a lot of the wide receiver screens. Those are the things that break your back at the end of the day if you're not tackling on the perimeter.
Shane Beamer had some experience before in Columbia on Steve Spurrier's staff. He gets the head job in South Carolina a few years ago. How have you seen him kind of build this program in his own image? What does he want this program to be known for?
Yeah, well, first of all, I've been doing this a long time, been with Steve Spurrier, Lou Holtz, Will Muschamp, all that, and I've been around all the coaches that we're thrilled enough to be able to cover and be around. And what Shane has got is he's got the two sides of it, which you got to be. You have to be incredibly personal and charismatic. He is that. He's great in the boardrooms, meeting with donors or folks. He's great in the living room with parents who love them. The players respect him. He has a tremendous skill set in that regard. He's just a guy you like. I mean, you'd like him away from football, wherever it may be. Very personable guy, has not been shunned by his family being in the game forever. Of course, with his Hall of Fame coach, his father, Frank Beamer. He knows that's an important part of the process. So he's building that through players. He has consistently gotten better recruits. He's on a good run right now with recruits. I'd say that's the first thing that he's done is he's got a really good personal touch to the program that we need here. When you recruit, you got Georgia just across the border and Florida and Tennessee. You better do really well at recruiting. If not, they're going to steal all your players from the state and then get their own from their states. And Shane's trying to slow that process down. The next thing he's done, he's pretty hard on his coaches. You might not think that his personality, but he also demands a lot from them. I think that's a good thing. The players absolutely play hard for him. I think that's a question when I watch other teams sometimes. It's a lot of what am I doing today, not about what am I doing best for the team. That's not in every program, but you and I both see that on occasion. Shane rarely has those lapses. These guys hurt when they lose. They play hard and usually play to their capabilities. That's probably his mark, I think, that he gets that out of them.
Yeah, and how have you seen him get his teams ready for a matchup like this against a top 10 Alabama team? I mean, notably, there were the wins against Tennessee and Clemson a couple of years ago, and even in some tight losses against Georgia or other teams that are in top 5, top 10. Seems like the Gamecocks are always ready to go. How have you seen him get his teams ready for matchups like this?
He has been in some big games, even the ones we fell to. Now we had a guy named Spencer Rattler at a lot of those games you just mentioned, who is an equalizer in a lot of places. And I said for the 2 years we had him that he's massively underrated. And I think what I'm hearing, he's going to start for the Saints this weekend. And so I think that was an equalizer a lot. There's not a throw he couldn't make. He was incredibly good under pressure, and that helped us. So you got to have a quarterback there in big games like this. And then you need a good plan, and Shane has done that. I think Dow Loggins, as a play caller, really gets into rhythm sometimes. We did not have a good week this past week doing that. I think he would acknowledge that. Ole Miss just kind of sat back, played zone on us, and we couldn't find the seams and sit down areas to crack and make plays after you catch it in between folks. And we could have maybe done a better job there. But I think normally you have a good plan. I think they scout pretty well. They know your weaknesses, and it's a good coaching staff, like almost everybody nowadays. I mean, you don't see many weak links, but he has done a good job in bigger games of making sure he has a formula that, if we execute, could win the ball game. And this is one of those games we all know, and it probably wouldn't be different from what Alabama says against Georgia or another top program too. Get me to the fourth quarter, and then we'll see what happens. If you can keep this game close into late third and fourth and have a shot, then, maybe the football gods are on your side.
Well, we look forward to Saturday, Alabama against South Carolina. Todd, first of all, just safe travels coming over with your teammates here to Tuscaloosa. We look forward to having you guys in town, and thank you for your time today on the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Great to be with you guys. Look forward to seeing you.
Don't miss out on your chance to experience the energy and the excitement of the Great American Race. Witness history in the making and purchase your tickets today for the 2025 Daytona 500 at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com. Friends, check out Game Day Done Right, because there's one thing we can really all agree on. No one wants to be the last one left at a tailgate at the end of the game, having to do all the cleanup, all the breakdown while their friends are out celebrating. If you've been in this situation before, you know the true value in what the team at Game Day Done Right provides. They handle the entire process for you, from setup to breakdown. Stellar customer service on game days to make sure your group is taken care of from start to finish. All you have to do is visit GameDayDoneRight.com, reserve your tailgate package, and let their team take it from there. Fun conversation with Todd Ellis, the voice of the Gamecocks, as we're all getting ready for what's coming up on Saturday, not just inside Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, but what's coming up outside at Vector Security Champions Lane as we take a look at the map and everything coming up for this Saturday's ball game. Again, 8 a.m. will be the start time for us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network with our pregame radio shows. We'll have that for you on stage at the Bud Light Backyard. Spoiler alert, we will be joined not just by a three-time national champion in Damien Square, but the most recent NCAA men's tennis national champion, Philip Planishek, will join us on stage there as well as part of all the festivities coming up at the Bud Light Backyard. We'll have the Legends Lounge Beer Garden opened, 21 and above, never a covered charge, and that will open at 8 a.m. to get you in the right state of mind for Alabama against South Carolina. We'll have some autographs available as well in our autograph tent presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health. Some members of the Crimson Tide baseball team will be along signing autographs again from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then after we're done on stage at the Bud Light Backyard, get ready for the music of Jake Matthew. He'll be performing as well. And again, just so many different activations going on here at Vector Security Champions Lane. We'll have some displays from Bud Light, T-Mobile, Zeros, as well as World of Beer, Publix, Billy's Gourmet Hot Dogs, and Texas Roadhouse. So we'll have TVs on. College Game Day will be on kind of on the video screens around us at the Bud Light Backyard inside Vector Security Champions Lane. It should be a lot of fun coming up for Alabama against South Carolina. And again, we will start our radio coverage. Champions Lane will open at 8 a.m. coming up on Saturday. That's what's coming up on Saturday. While we have a moment, let's take a look at what's coming up on the Crimson Tide Sports Network this weekend. Well, coming up tomorrow, a new edition of Tide TV this week, as we will get you set for the week, not just about Alabama football, but all Alabama athletics available to our TV affiliates and, of course, RolledTide.com, the Alabama Athletics YouTube page as well. Saturday, as I mentioned, will hit the air starting at 8 a.m., getting you ready for the 11 a.m. kickoff between Alabama and South Carolina. Don't forget to make sure you watch the booth cam presented by Yay Alabama for all the reactions from the ball game, and a great way just to have the radio product available right in the palm of your hand. Then coming up on Sunday, the Kalen DeBoer television show with Chris Stewart and Coach DeBoer to our TV affiliates and, of course, online, RolledTide.com. Monday, we'll talk about it with Corey Reamer coming up for another edition of Crimson Tide Rewind presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health at 6 p.m. from Baumhower's in Vestavia Hills. Make sure you follow us at UA_CTSN on all social media platforms. There you will find some of our interview clips, booth cam highlights from Yay Alabama as well to get you ready for Alabama against South Carolina and get you ready for basketball as well. We look forward to the banner raising coming up tomorrow here in Tuscaloosa, but we'll have more coming up on all of our social media platforms at UA_CTSN. That's our upcoming schedule here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And that's going to wrap up this very busy edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to the guest we've had, Justice Haynes from Alabama football, from NASCAR's Truck Series, Grant Enfinger, and then Todd Ellis, of course, the voice of South Carolina. Great preview of what's coming up on Saturday between Alabama and South Carolina. Huge thank you to our video producer, Ethan Carabin. He put the entire show together, and thanks to all of you for watching this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. For all of us with the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying thanks again for watching. Roll Tide.
I just appreciate everyone being here again, and so just the support for our guys. You come here again because it is strong support, and I can promise you these guys are going back to work and doing everything they can to be the best they can be on Saturday against South Carolina, and their mindset's in a good spot. I'm so proud of the response, and that's all you can do is. I think Tim even said it today, Tim Smith, 10% of what you deal with and 90% how you respond to it is what it's all about. So, you know, we got some good guys that get it, and so we'll see you on Saturday.
We're looking forward to it. Coach, thank you so much. Jeremy, thank you. Great to meet you.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it
Roll
so
Tide.
much. Jeremy Bernard and Coach Kalen DeBoer.